Countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's show, episode 263, coming at you, guys. I gotta say, what a fucking week it's been, for myself, for the rest of us here on the show. Jimmy the Rant, finishing up part 4 the other day, the final installment with Joseph M. Leonard, guys, on the show. It was a tremendous episode that we did with Joseph. Tremendous, guys. I want to. I can't. I mean, I can't show more emphasis to that, guys. Such a great show that I did with Jimmy the Rant and Joseph. We did a little goof spinoff to social media American Jeopardy. I hope everybody liked that episode. Got a lot of good comments on the website saying, Michael, you're no fucking Alex Trebek though, but you did your damnest, right? I tried to put the shoes on with Alex Trebek, but we did a good job, right? We did a good job. The winner of all of it went to Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes, won the Social Media American Jeopardy on that episode. And then the loser, it went to Jimmy the Rant. What did Jimmy the Rant win? Well, Jimmy won a all-exclusive trip to communist China forever. So hopefully we can get him back, right? It was all a goof, guys. It wasn't. It was all fun and games. It was nothing serious. But on to tonight's show, guys. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I want to get into this BLM, like what the hell is going on with the BLM, right? They're back in the spotlight, right? BLM showing significant amounts of corruption, guys. They had that, $6 million fucking fraud that they just bought this mansion and had all these parties and stuff. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the five, Fox's The Five reacting to BLM buying the $6 million mansion. And then I also want to plug into the show later on in the show, guys. I happened to be on the Kimberly Cloud show earlier today. She's based out of Santa Barbara, California. So it was a huge honor being on her show. Guys, let's welcome Soslan back into the show. How you doing, Sos? What's up, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
We're doing phenomenal. As you can see, the good news coming on the show. I do have a really, really huge announcement, which you were briefed in the green room. I don't want to give it out right away.
No.
And please, Sos, don't give it out. We're going to give it out towards the middle of the show. But a huge announcement that's going to be announced here on the show.
It's epic.
You're damn well it's epic.
You know what's also epic is that today I also exposed a rhino today in Wisconsin.
Oh, God. Want to tell us about that?
Oh, absolutely. So I just want to tell you that, it's interesting how when people ask you to campaign and stuff, you got to be very cautious.
Sure.
Because I definitely can tell you, they're good to be, it's like a good to be true thing. So with the people I know and stuff, this individual I was campaigning for, well, he said, so the Gateway article that we spoke about in the articles, how when you're in the spotlight, what do you think is going to come out? Things are going to, people don't like you. So they're going to send, or they're going to make articles about you that, are bad, make you look bad.
Absolutely.
well, here's what this rhino did. Okay. This rhino consulted people in DC, and now he's like, well, you're welcome to volunteer, but you're no longer as a paid staffer anymore. And so I'm like, so pretty much, and like, and we still want everybody, like, we still want your contacts, and we still want the people that you want on it. How, that's not what America's about. So pretty much, I got let go of a job that I worked my tail end off for over a stupid article. Just because I'm a public figure doesn't mean that. I mean, and according to him, he's like, it was more of a control, like he wanted his staff members to like not be in the light at all. What do you think is going to happen when you're running for office? They're going to do opposition research on everybody else. And I've already gotten.
Of course, they're going to do research. They're going to look you up like you're running a freaking marathon, Sos. And what they did, man, they did a great diligence to you. And then you mentioned Gateway Pundit that did a great diligence to you. You want to tell the listeners about that story if maybe they haven't heard. It shows a huge amount of relevance, Sos, to what you're saying right now.
So what happened is, now I just want to tell you, I did consult my lawyers.
Okay, well, that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes. So first of all, the lawyer said that was a publicity stunt. They stated that, well, because you're a public figure now, which I never knew I was a public figure. I mean, what I think of this whole, I told my lawyers when they told me that, I'm like, that many people want to hear what I have to say. I mean, bless their hearts. I mean, but no. So what they stated is that, so what happened is that they decided that the Gateway Pundit thought I was a FBI operative. And so anyway, they didn't state my name. There was some inside sources that name dropped my name to my face. And so then I had all these big media companies call me, and all these big tech companies and like off of CNN and even other people call me and asking if they want to do a sit down interview. So I said no. And what happened is that they pretty much labeled me as I coordinated people breaking down the windows, and I did all this stuff, which is a complete false statement. And I never went inside the Capitol. I never did anything. All I did was my First Amendment, as an immigrant, as a legal immigrant.
Which you're entitled to,
Absolutely. So you're not entitled to stay home. I wasn't going to stay home. I'd be like, I'm going to stay home and bunker down. No, I did my hard will due diligence as a veteran, this individual that served this country and that came to America through a legal process and fled communism. You bet I went to DC to protest peacefully, not like what BLM wants us to think, like where they think of burning buildings is okay. I didn't do that any chance. And then the whole thing about the whole BLM garbage. So I was on President Trump campaign, and we're getting to this.
Yeah,
they are some nasty people. I just want to tell you that.
Trust me, yeah.
And the fact, and it was interesting how, from my point of view, there were BLM people at the rally on January 6th, and where I was standing at, they had a whole bunch of people surrounded by us, and they had suitcases. Each of those, and like you saw like BLM emblems on their t-shirt, like not on their t-shirt, but they had like a wristband, and it was like up on their waist, on their shoulders, not on their waist, but on their arms, and they had like suitcases. And so it was interesting how they had suitcases. And
talk about standing out, huh, Sos?
Yeah. Well, for me, that looked a little bit odd. I'm like, why would you have suitcases at a President Trump rally? That doesn't make sense, especially in DC. You would think that there'd be more security precautions because each and every single one of us had to go through security.
You know what they were doing, right? They were creating diversion, Sos.
Oh, and they did a very good job of it.
Yeah.
And so not only that, but like with the whole BLM, and I was being on President Trump campaign, I went to Pensacola and all over America. And it was interesting because, I was one of the security guys. And so I did security for him and I spoke with people. And I hate to say it, but the BLM people, they get up in your face and all they want is cause trouble. And so this guy, and what we were taught is that you just zip cuffs. Don't even talk to them. You just apprehend them because they're like some bad people.
But isn't that the same crap that, that Antifa does the same? They're very similar to the domestic terror group Antifa, right?
But Antifa's a Democratic Party too. They're all owned by George Soros. So that's the whole thing. Is that
we call them here on the show, Sos, and you probably heard me mention it several times. It's a distraction group.
Yes,
a huge distraction group caused by Soros and company.
And don't forget the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds.
Oh yeah, total corruption. You can't tell me nothing more about the Rockefellers. I grew up in the backyard there of New York City, where that shit's all originated from. But yeah,
and so like. I mean, my whole thing is that, and okay, so this whole so with this whole BLM stuff, okay. Now we're gonna kind of hone it back to the church. So, not January, but June 2020, it was a very hectic summer. Okay,
Yeah.
but it was interesting because the Southern Baptist Community Church Conference, they voted to start teaching BLM curriculum to their church congregation.
Okay.
So what happened was, so I was at this church, and they actually voted me, like, excommunicated me out of this church.
Oh my
Because
God.
I would not, because the pastor stated this. Okay, he put a BLM flag, and here's what his words were. They're like, all you white people in here, I want you to come up to
That's
the
how he addressed you, all you white people?
Yes, it was
Wait,
in the
hold
middle.
on. Was this a woke church?
It was a Southern Baptist church in Texas, San
No,
Antonio,
was
Texas.
it a woke, like a woke church?
It surprised me. It was a woke church. It surprised
Yeah.
me. So what happened is that he's like, all you white people, you can come up to the altar, and you have to bow in front of me and apologize to me and to my family and to my brothers and sisters for what you guys did.
Oh my God.
And I refuse to do that. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, no, what happened to Jesus died? Like, what happened to our red blood? Like, last time I checked, I mean, I'm tan. I mean, I'm not white anymore. I'm tan. So, so it was interesting because some of the comments I get, like, wow, you look a lot different. You look tan, and you look, you've been out in the sun. But the fact is that we're all made by the red blood. We all have red blood. So we're all the same. So what happened was, because I refused to kneel down in front of the black pastor, and I forgot to kiss his feet, because he went around and each of the congregation members kissed his feet, his bare feet, and they said, "We're so sorry, Pastor, for how we treated you." And I went one by one, and I actually went up and threw up in the bathroom because I was disgusted.
Isn't that a bunch of garbage?
It is a bunch of garbage, and this is happening in Texas.
It's happening all over the country, Sos. I mean, I was just, if I may, I was just in Midtown Virginia Highland section of Atlanta. There's a section called Virginia Highland, which shows a large amount of these woke churches that literally, I mean, you heard me say it on the show, Sos. They have the alphabet flag or the rainbow flag or whatever the hell you want to call it, draping down from these churches. And on these flags, or usually next to the flag, there'll be like a Black Lives Matter flag, and it'll say, in this church, we honor and welcome everyone of color, of race. We do not discriminate against the LGBT community. We don't discriminate. Black Lives Matter here in this church. And I mean, they orchestrate it to extreme levels. And when I see that stuff, Sos, it breaks my heart because it's going against the Bible. It really is.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that, so, I live in Madison. So for your viewers, I live in Madison. Now, you can only imagine what's happening in Madison. So it was funny. I stopped by a church today because they're getting ready for the Alphabet Month. And so they were hanging out, like they put all their flags out, and they put BLM in. And the funny part is they put out a flag saying that we stand with Ukraine. And I'm like, and I stopped by this Lutheran church today, and you're going to get a hoop. I said, well, how come we can't do we stand with Russia flag? And they gave me like a glare, like get out of here. And the pastor's like, what did you just say? And I'm like, well, what about we stand with Russia, or Russian lives matter? I guess they don't matter either. He's like, well, they're the commies. And I'm like, well, I came from Russia. He's like, well, you're a communist and you're not welcome at our church. And I said, oh, I don't go to. And he's like, and that Ukraine is being suppressed, and that they're the ones that are being taken over. I'm like, but the problem is that you do realize that Ukraine, they don't have freedom of speech in Ukraine. So when you say like you stand with Ukraine, you do realize, and when you say like Black Lives Matter, you do realize that you adopt communism, and that your church, you're brainwashing your church. And he just sat there with a dumb look.
Yeah, they don't represent a republic there. There's no republic whatsoever. When you have a republic in a nation or a country, that's where you have more freedoms and liberties. But countries like Ukraine,
Russia,
they don't have that. They're very suppressed. They're similar to like Venezuela, Cuba, or China.
So it's kind of ironic. It's actually kind of ironic, and I guess he was almost close to calling the police on me for trespassing on church property. Huh? That'd be the second time.
That's terrible. I mean, you see this crap in churches and stuff, and I
it's
hate
Madison.
To use the word crap. It's crap. It's going against the basic principles of not only spirituality, but religion itself. It does not say one bit in the Bible. I mean, I don't know the Bible from beginning to end. I know bits and pieces of it, but I know in effect, Sos, and you could probably read the scripture if you want here live on the show. Where does it say in the Bible that God or Jesus welcomes the LGBTQ plus community? Where does it say that? I don't remember seeing that.
No, actually, he does. He does the opposite. He condones them. He condones alphabet people. He's like, but he also did say, as brothers and sisters. Now, I want to. Okay, so if there's anybody that's listening that is like on the other side or something like that. Okay, so in the Bible, it says that we're supposed to love the sinner. So we're supposed to show love and compassion to them, just like Jesus did. But at the same time, we're supposed to correct them. So if anybody says that Black Lives Matter and stuff, and that they really realize what it means, or the alphabet people, we're supposed to say, as brothers and sisters in Christ, and as as followers of Christ, we're supposed to come up to them and we're supposed to correct them in a loving way. And we're like, okay, the lifestyle you're living is not godly, because the lifestyle that you're living and who you're worshiping, because a lot of people actually don't know, but did you know that the BLM, they do witchcraft, and that they actually worship the Aztec gods, which is about 200 gods, 200, and one of the main ones is Moloch?
I was not aware of that. I know they're, a wacky weirdo type of group, but I wasn't aware of the witchcraft.
Yeah, they do witchcraft rituals, and so
wow.
So I've been diving into this BLM stuff. I hate to say
almost
it,
sounds like a
cult.
like a KKK, Ku Klux Klan almost, but more or less like the black version of it.
Black Panthers.
Well, the black version of the KKK. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's interesting how, and so a matter of fact, here's what happened in California. Well, actually, not only that, but I don't know if your viewers also know this, but I sent you an article regarding, this whole alphabet people. And so we're kind of, okay. So in Wisconsin, okay, this past week, over three middle schoolers were arrested because they didn't say the right pronouns, and they didn't say Black Lives Matter. And I looked into it, and they forgot to say Black Lives Matter, and they forgot to say I'm sorry to the black students in their class in the middle school.
I seen that picture you sent me. You sent me a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, Sos, a lot of good content. We'll get into the Ministry of Truth. I mean, you sent me that. I mean, what's going on right now in the country, I think, Sos, and Lee Lovin, that follows us here on Instagram, huge follower. Literally, sometimes I question myself. Eric here, producer Eric, is like, does this woman sleep? She writes on the Instagram panel, they're bored. Literally, the radical left, the BLM, everything that represents the radical left, the progressive left, they're bored. They're literally running out of talking points. And I think they're doing whatever they can just to hang on,
Oh, absolutely. And then, so, the other thing that they're also talking about is that these same Black Lives Matter people are also going out and lobbying for free tuition and free college. Well, why don't you do something productive? Why don't you go to a vocational school or a technical school and utilize your brain cells that you don't have, and kind of utilize what's left of it to do something productive in society, instead of saying, well, let's burn down buildings and let's get a degree in burning down buildings, and then, we need free tuition for burning down buildings. No, it's ironic, actually. And what's more interesting is that the Black Lives Matter, okay, they were started by two lesbian women. All right, and the two lesbian women were going
out of Atlanta, believe it or not.
And they actually live in California now. Figures.
There was a huge base in Atlanta. Excuse me. Yeah.
So they started in Atlanta, and then they went to California. But they were after. But what they're really going after is nuclear families. Now, what that means? What a nuclear family? You know what that means, right? With a nuclear family.
I've heard of bits and pieces of it. Yeah, you want to enlighten the listeners and stuff like that. That's fine. I've heard bits and pieces of it, though. Yeah.
So here's why. So what nuclear family is that they're actually going after the Bible, and what they're going after is when God says, "Honor your father and mother," and that it takes a mother and the father. So with the Black Lives Matter and the organizations, including the LGBT, the alphabet people, they're going after that concept of God when He states that God created a mother and the father to distort it to saying, "Well, it doesn't matter who you are." And it doesn't matter. You don't need a mother. You don't need a father. You could be raised by anyone who you want. And therefore, you're undermining the credibility of the Bible. So it's pretty much we're seeing the Bible being under attack and Christians being attacked. And so that's where you start by a nuclear family, because if you are raised by a father or a mother together, you therefore have somewhat of a comprehension, and you know what's right and wrong between if you are raised by a man, or like a woman and a woman, and what the list can go on. So it's very interesting that they went after the Christian faith, and that's why they're going after churches, and that's why they're targeting towards churches, and that's why the federal government is now starting to mitigate the 501(c)(3)s that get dispersed out to churches if they don't oblige with the Black Lives Matter curriculum.
And you know, I'm sure the the Disinformation Ministry of Truth Board will probably be fact checking this, because now we know who the hell these fact checkers are, folks. Right? It's been revealed last week and prior to that with this Ministry of Truth, which is nothing new. I said this earlier today on the Kimberly Cloud show. It's nothing new. This shit's been going on since the 80s, and now we know who's been fact-checking all of us for all this time, right? It's finally been revealed. We thought it was some kind of college nerd, but it's apparently it's actually a federal department that's going in to this type of firewall type of server into our personal computers, our tablets, our cell phones. And Sos, this is invasion of privacy.
You bet you. This is like Russia and Ukraine. So are we going to why aren't we going against? This is like Russia and Ukraine. And you know what the other thing is? Okay, so I actually, the $40 billion that was passed this past week. I actually dove into the big bill.
Yeah.
You know how much BLM is getting money out of it, and you know actually how much is going to Ukraine?
A fortune.
$350 million is actually going to Ukraine. Okay, while BLM is going to get $1.5 billion in government funding, and through like education programs and through like scholarships and through the minorities.
That's disgusting. It really is.
And you can find that page. You can find those fundings on page 123, section 4. I don't really know exactly, but it's a huge bill. It's that big $40 billion.
I know. Koala Media, which is a big conservative media platform out of Minnesota. They just had that on their website not too long ago. I'm not sure if it's still on there. It was on the very, very top. For those folks, if you're not familiar with Koala Media, I strongly recommend following their content as well, because most of the stuff that comes out is very accurate. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, if you do know Koala Media, or if you heard of it, oh, Michael, it's a conspiracy theorist of a media. No, it's not. It's very, very true. Some of the stuff that comes out by third-party sources, right, are very accurate. Okay, very accurate. I happen to know a few people, both on the advocate and people that do work for Koala Media. I won't label them on the show for privacy issues, Sas, because you know how this freaking radical left will attack every single person. They'll attack as much as they can just to bury somebody's material or brand. They did it with me on YouTube. They're going to do it to you. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And and the funny thing is that with the big funding and stuff, so you also have I think $150 million going to the Ministry of Truth. Now, this is a Ministry of Truth. Let me actually get their. I took a screenshot of their Twitter because I think this was just absolutely pathetic.
I did see that. Yeah, I seen that. That was pulled up here. We'll try to plug it in the show, but we did see a screenshot that you gave us here.
Yes.
If you want to quote it, go ahead, Sas.
Oh, absolutely. This is from U.S. Ministry of Truth. Okay. Obesity is healthy. Do not exercise. Okay. And then,
what?
Yeah. And then this is also the second post I thought was just outrageous. Okay. So we are pleased to announce the formula ration is being increased to 3 boxes per store. another record high. How is that just idiotic or what?
So you're telling me if I want to be and please guys, don't take this out of context. I'm not, offending you. So all you little sensitive sheeple out there, please, go have a hot pocket and go down in mommy's basement and watch
And smoke
uh
pot.
exactly. Listen, so you're telling me, yeah. So you're telling me that if I want to be a fat ass, I'm considered healthy?
Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't make
Since
sense.
when does being a fat slob healthy? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, never. Well, okay, so you might as well. So what?
All jokes aside, but yeah.
So we're gonna start opening that Twinkie factory. Like, hey, Twinkies for everybody. Now, next thing you know, we're gonna. It reminds me of that movie, Wall-E. Where everybody's so flipping fat they can't like move on their own, so they have like
Well,
all
you talk
electronics.
about Twinkies. It reminds me of the first, zombie thing with Woody Harrelson when he's like, "Where the hell is the Twinkies at?"
Yeah, and so like
Zombieland, yeah. Everybody's seen Zombieland, right? Where Woody Harrelson is going across the country looking for his last Twinkie, right? I mean,
yeah. So I mean, I was flabbergasted. I'm like, so wait, what? Okay, so I hate to say it. Okay, what do you tell people that are trying to lose weight and they see the U.S. Ministry of Truth? What do you tell them? You're like, oh man, like what do the younger kids tell? Like, hey mom, I guess it's okay for me to be fat,
well, what's the founder of the Ministry of Truth, right? The head honcho, right? What does Nina Javakowitz have to say about that? Oh, wait a minute, she stepped down, didn't she?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
Wow, what a coincidence. I wonder why, Sos.
I wonder. Well, maybe she's trying to take another role in Mary Poppins,
or maybe she can't handle the pressure anymore.
or maybe yeah. Well, or maybe she can't handle well. Okay, so speaking of Ministry of Truth, okay, so let me tell you what I think is a complete BS and what the White House actually posted the other day regarding. Okay, let me pull it up quick because I thought this.
Yeah,
was just...
hang on. If you could hold that thought, Sos, I got to get a quick break in. But yeah, hold that thought, guys. We're talking about the Ministry of Truth. A lot of connections to BLM corruption that's going on in the headlines, guys. We'll be right back after these short words. Hold that thought, Sos.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm Bert Jones. When I played for Georgia, we won the SEC championship.
Here's the block, and it'll be first and goal, Georgia.
Not just because we had great athletes, but because we were bonded together as teammates, united by that G on our helmets. An important lesson about the power of unity. And it's why I'm so opposed to teaching critical race theory in our school systems. Instead of teaching children about what divides us, we should be teaching our children about what unites us.
All right, guys, we're back here on the show. For those who had seen just that last ad, please, guys, if you haven't picked up a copy, right, huge advocate not only for the Patriot Angle podcast, but an advocate for conservatism in America, Terror Strikes, the author of Terror Strikes, Joseph M. Leonard, guys. Pick up the book today. It's going out like hotcakes, guys. Phenomenal book. I have it. I read it. Just finished yesterday. I'm going to read the damn thing again because there's a lot of good information on that. Sos, we got it. We're getting into the Ministry of Truth. Some great detail. Go ahead, fill the listeners in with more of it.
So with the Ministry of Truth, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So with so I'm on the White House thing. Okay. So you want to talk about Ministry of Truth of doing something wrong? Okay. So you have, okay. So this came out of the White House today. Okay. So what happened is President Joe Biden's safety plan. Okay, so we're asking for another $10 billion after we just sent over. Okay, so he wants to give law enforcement money. All of a sudden, he wants to give law enforcement money, and then he wants to expand evidence-based community violence intervention programs, and then upgrade 9/11 911 systems and anti-crime technology. Yeah, that's his $10 billion plan. And then the congressional Republicans' public safety plan is voting against a rescue funding plan that is providing $10 billion for law enforcement and public safety. And then opposing universal background checks to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. And then trying to block president's action to renew in the pro-lifitation of ghost guns, which I don't know what the hell ghost guns are. Are they like something they come up with their hand? They'd be like pew pew or something like that.
Is that something similar to like the movie Ghostbusters, when a bunch of scientific nerds are going around New York City trying to eliminate the paranoia, schizophrenic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, and and the whole thing is that, and you're the Ministry of Truth. Okay, so here's what the United States Ministry of Truth is. Okay,
Yeah.
so their
I'm
main
still
thing.
baffled by it, but go ahead.
Okay, so we always keep a few people on standby to accuse descendants of sexual harassment, and that's going after Elon Musk. Okay,
Yeah,
and
I've seen a lot coming out of Elon Musk today, which I'll brief.
how
if you
true
don't
is
mind.
that? Okay, okay. Before that, how true is that? Because I think they're going to after the reason why they're attacking him is because he's a huge Republican that he's voting
I was just
Republican.
about to say that if anybody pays attention to my Instagram feed, yeah. Did you see that story coming out earlier today?
Yes, back in 2018, that one of the SpaceX flight attendants came. I don't, I'll tell you the truth, I don't buy that for a fact because one of the business insiders. Why don't we fact check? I mean, how come nobody fact checks that one? Okay, so another thing is that, okay, so I could always go back and to work for the ATF, but that's always been more of a pet project. Look how idiotic that is. Like, what can somebody? Yeah. So, and why isn't the Ministry of Truth going after what the White House is stating? That, under President Joe Biden, we never had the vaccine and we never had anything whatsoever that, the debt wasn't, the debt was like, it was out of proportion and like the spending was like out of control. Well, look at what happened now. Under Biden, we spent over $5 trillion and we're not even at midterms, and they keep on asking for money. Well, it doesn't help that we're funding Ukraine. And I shouldn't say that. It doesn't help that we're funding Joe Biden's pocketbook.
Yeah. Do you know that economic this can't speak tonight is now expected a $6 gas by August. This is by August that the cost of fuel for everybody averagely in the country is going to rise to $6. Some areas are seeing $7.
Washington State's seeing $10, and Madison's projected to be $8 by June, like end of June.
Yeah. Well,
so
we all know that inflation isn't getting any better, right?
but the whole thing, and speaking of inflation, okay.
Oh, and baby formula is still out of stock. Yeah, that's Joe Biden's America.
Oh, you just go down to the border. There's pallets and pallets of it. Oh yeah, and by the way, and speaking of baby formula, why is Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats, okay, and speaking of House Democrats and speaking of disinformation, you know what they officially had? Apparently, we don't have any issues because they had intelligence hearings on UFOs.
Yeah, I seen that.
And it's like, people really think that UFOs exist? I mean, give me a break. I mean, and like Nancy Pelosi stating that we need to go after baby formula companies, and Pete Buttigieg is saying that it's not our government's, like it's not the government's issue.
This is not just, I mean, this is just an American thing, because if you go to the country north of us in Canada, they're not having any formula issue. They're not having any shortage issue. They're not having any of that. You know?
No, well, and it's not the country's. Well, it is the country's issues, but it's also the government. I mean, the FDA is the one that the FDA is the one that put a halt on it in February.
Sos, it's a pandemic after a
Yes,
pandemic, and we're seeing them one after the other, and it's literally, it's driving the radical left crazy because they're trying their hardest, folks, to try to manipulate the brainwashed sheep out there that are just going to believe Big Brother one after the other. Like, oh God. Oh God! You had freaking Anthony Fauci for the last 2 years almost saying that, oh, we should double mask and masks are important, and then he went tippy-toed off the mask issue, and then he said, well, masks are not relevant and this and that. Then he said masks are relevant. Then we have to double mask. Then he had fucking people putting 3 masks on.
and then
yeah.
we also have people wearing diapers over their head. What's next? He's going to say put diapers over like your pants to make sure that you don't leak.
I mean,
I mean,
it's crazy. But when you have idiots like, these groups like Black Lives Matter that's going to preach the hell out of it, like, oh, these people that are against masking and social distancing are the real white supremacists, are the real racists. Now they're labeling the new Twitter man, right? The CEO, Elon Musk, for being a racist because he supports a Republican ticket, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like the Black Lives Matter people are showing up. Okay, so Clarence Thomas and all these Supreme Court justices, I feel so bad for them because they're showing up at their they're showing up at their residence, and they're screaming like Black Lives Matter and stuff, and it's our rights and stuff, it's our choice. Well, the whole thing is that, and I don't know if you heard what happened though. So I found this out actually because I have insiders in Congress. So Congress passed a bill to legalize abortion like across all 50 states and all that. So Nancy Pelosi came up and drafted a bill and it went through the House. It got 384 to something, but unanimously passed. But it died in the Senate with a 51-49 vote. So therefore, it goes back to the Supreme Court. Thank God it passed. Thank God it failed because that is psychotic.
Oh,
yeah, and
totally.
And so the fact that you have BLM people like, on CNN stating, well, we need to this country's racist and you're a white supremacist if you vote against the Roe versus Wade. Well,
hold that thought. We just talked about Elon Musk. You know why? You know why he's joining the GOP, right?
Because he sees through the light. He sees the corruption, and there
was a story that came out on Breitbart earlier today, and I follow Breitbart because I think they're very conservative, right? They do show a lot of good facts on their platform. There was an article that came out on Breitbart, and it's still on Breitbart, and that's what I love about Breitbart. They never remove their content because they're not a platform that, oh, it doesn't fit our agenda bullshit. No, there was an article that came out that Donald Trump now, folks, is torching Musk, saying that Elon wants to join the GOP because of issues with probably illegal purchase of fake Twitter. Did you hear that?
Yes, and that is complete farce.
You think it's false?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, I understand that. Well, from retrospect, Elon Musk doesn't even have to listen to President Trump because, first of all, Elon Musk has more money than President Trump has. That's number one.
President Trump said that. I don't know if he actually said this or if it's just a header that that they're trying to kind of. And listen, guys, I'm not bashing Breitbart, but I understand that they have to battle the platforms and the networks. I do understand that. But there was one part that was very interesting to me where it said that Trump posted this on his platform, right?
Truth Social. Yes.
He posted this to his platform stating that Musk's change of heart is likely due to all his problems with a probably illegal purchase of a crummy, phony account loaded company, fake Twitter. Now, recently, folks, the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk, announced his plans to align himself with the Republican Party, stating that the Democrats have become a part of a division and hateful movement, right? In a tweet, Musk stated, and I'll quote, "In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly in quotes, mostly the kindest party. Yeah. Can you believe that, Sos?
That the Democrats used to be the kindest party. Yeah, that's complete. That's he, but
But
that's
do you think that that Elon Musk was a huge advocate for the Democratic Party?
no. No, absolutely not. Because you see, if people actually backtrack him, and if they actually look at his stance, he actually wasn't too fond of Obama, because he didn't like his environmental policies, and that he actually said that Obama did more damage on his environmental policies than before.
Yeah.
But then, and like you see, what used to be scary is that he supported Bernie Sanders for president in 2016.
Yeah, the socialist, folks, I get unfiltered, and I'll say it. If it offends you, I'm sorry. It's my show. It's my demeanor. Do you know how hard it was to keep my demeanor, earlier today, Sos, on the Kimberly Cloud show? It was extremely hard. I respect people that have shows on platforms. They have to watch your demeanor. I get it. That's why I wasn't trying to, go unfiltered, but it was extremely hard. This socialist Jew, that's the person you're saying?
The socialist Jew, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and no. Okay, so the other question is,
and folks, I don't have anything against Jews, but yeah, Bernie Sanders is a fraud.
Yeah, he's not a Jew. Well, he says, well, maybe I could say I was a Jew, Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't joke around that, because I think, well, did you know why he says he's a Jew?
Well, yeah, so he can get the freaking upper hand.
No, he actually, because Israel gives you a stipend.
In a way, yeah.
Actually, Israel pays you a certain amount a month for being Jew.
Really?
Yeah. How do you think he never had a job?
I wasn't aware of that, man. Guys, Sos will be. I'll be blown away on some of Sos's knowledge. I mean, him and we can battle each other with intelligence here on the show sometimes. Sos, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, how do you think he never worked a job in his life? Because he never worked a job in his life, and that there's a stipulation inside of America where actually, if you're a Jew and you actually have some sort of a Jewish heritage and stuff, you actually get like what happened with the Indians, where they actually get compensated per month.
Right, for the reservations, yeah.
Reservations. But in the Jewish community, if you are a descendant of Israel, if you came from Israel, something like that, after World War II, if you have some kind of a descendant that related to the Holocaust, Israel pays you a certain amount a month, and you have to do certain things for them. Why do you think? And that's interesting that I looked that up, because Bernie Sanders never worked a day in his life, and that he somehow collected money through overseas.
Well, he kind of reminds me of these millennials, right? They never worked a real job in their life, Well, and another off of mommy and daddy's salary.
And another
35 years old.
And another thing is that if most of the Jewish people, most of the big Jewish community leaders in New York City and stuff, they actually don't bank through America. They have their money wired to Cancun, which is one of the biggest, third richest country.
Josh, you're not telling me anything. I grew up in the backyards of New York City. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so you know exactly.
You're damn right. They're very smart up there in New York. Very smart.
But the whole thing is that you think you support Israel. And why is it that so many people are like, see, I don't get that whole standpoint. Why is it that so many people dislike Israel, but at the same time, you would think Bernie Sanders be like, yeah, let's save Israel, not defund them, because he pays.
Here's why.
Israel pays him.
Yeah. Here's why they dislike it, right? They'll dislike it today. Tomorrow, it'll be an entire different agenda, an entire different message. Oh, Israel, they're the real Satanists. They're the real evil bigots. They're this, they're that. Tomorrow, Israel, we stand by Israel.
Just like Ukraine.
Israel. They're a bunch of hypocrites, Sos. Bunch of hypocrites.
Well, and I think look at Ukraine, though. They're the same. They're pulling the same garbage, And it's interesting because for the first time ever, I think it's kind of funny and hilarious, because why aren't they doing reparations for Russian? And I don't know if you also heard about this, but there's a bill in Congress talking about this, where BLM is collaborating with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
I heard about that. Yeah,
the reparations bill, and you want to talk about going to corrupt, you want to talk about collapse economy, that will collapse the market in less than a 1 pen signature, because it will collapse it before, because each bill, each African American would get $450,000 as cold hard cash from the federal government. Each of them would get $450,000.
Let me stop you right there. These reparations, right? Do you believe that, the current class of people should be receiving those reparations?
No, I'm sorry. There's no reparations. I don't think anybody from Africa should get reparations, because when you see
it's a sensitive topic, okay? And I'll say this here on the show. I think that the people that should receive them are the ones that suffered it in the beginning, right? Some of those people, Sos, are no longer here with us. No. I do agree with the people that went through the slavery. Hey, Sos, whether you want to admit to it or not, it was wrong, right? But those are the people that should receive it, no? I mean...
Well, if they're still alive, I mean...
Right, if they're still alive. Most of them are dead. Most of them are dead, yeah.
And the whole thing, I understand that slavery was bad. But here's the whole thing. A lot of people don't look at the key facts. Africa, if you look at Africa, how do you think they got those people from Africa? We have black slave owners in Africa. That's how. So you want to talk about being, slavery? Even the people in Africa had slaves of their own, and they were black slave owners even in America. So how do you explain with reparations when even your own skin color had slaves of their own? That doesn't make sense. And if you want to talk about reparations in this day and age,
because they when they bring that on the social scale, man, it's easy to bring it up because it's a selling point. They're going to do it over and over and over again. They're going to leave the fact out that you just said here on the show, that slavery wasn't first created in the United States of America. There's been other countries long before it was introduced in America. Okay, that it had it in its own country of origin. There was slavery in Africa. Sos, there was slavery in
Russia
countries. Russia too. The European countries. Yes, all of Eastern Europe had slavery at one point or another. It's nothing like it's. I can't stand in this country.
And they still
press. Yeah, they still press it.
Yeah, and they still have slavery in this day and age. Look at China. Look at all those kids that are working and forced to work in factories. Look at Russia, all those kids. The fact is,
well, now it's looked at human trafficking in China, and we have human trafficking from China in the United States.
Oh, absolutely. So, okay, so here's a quick fact, actually.
Yeah, so, make it quick because I want to plug in this video kind of related to the BLM, what we're talking about. But go ahead.
Okay, so, in Russia and stuff, they actually... So Russia does kind of a mass slavery on their end. So if you're a little kid, when I had 3 options when I was a little kid. The reason why I didn't pick any of those 3 options was because of my poor health. But every month, the government would come by, the military would come by, and would inspect little boys to make sure that they're equipped to work. And so the reason why they would be forced to work is to make sure that they can make weapons and to because their little hands can go in vehicles that big hands can't. So they're slaved into the government. So the reason why I failed each time was because I had one leg shorter than the other and my health was very poor. That's called slavery at a massive level. Why doesn't anyone bring that up? But they don't want to because it's it deals with Russia. Oh, Russia's bad. But...
Oh no, you know how much ratings they'll lose. It's all about ratings to these sick, demented
bastards.
Networks. Yeah, it's demented. It really is, guys. I want to plug this video in of what Sos and I are talking about to kind of maybe enlighten the uneducated folks here on this Black Lives Matter crap.
Black Lives Matter in hot water after tax documents show how the nonprofit is spending its donation. They made a lot of money, too, took in a lot of money. Foundation paid more than $2 million to a consulting firm run by a member of their board of directors. $1.4 million was spent on lobbying. Another $1.8 million spent on people with close ties to co-founder Patrisse Cullors, including her son's father and her brother. For comparison, $200,000 was given to the Trayvon Martin Foundation. Larry Elder hosted the Larry Elder Show. Larry, good morning to you from Los Angeles. They bought a house, or she did anywhere, the group did in Los Angeles. What do you make of the findings thus far that the state of California is pursuing?
I think one of those family members, by the way, was the mother of the co-founder, Patrice Cullors. And Miss Cullors herself has bought, I think, at last count was about 4 or so high-end properties, including an area out here in California called Topanga Canyon. And we also know that the Black Lives Matter people bought a mansion in Canada, also property in the Bahamas. But Bill, that's not even, to me, the worst of it. The worst of it is the very premise behind the organization, and that is that the police are engaging in systemic racism against black people. It is a lie. There's a hard...
Yeah, you're damn right it's a lie. I love Larry Elder. He's a black man, Sos, that gets it. I mean, tax documents showing that they even cheated on their freaking taxes.
Oh, absolutely.
This is a corrupted group. Sos, there's a huge lie behind the BLM movement. They're not for the black community. They can care two shits about the black community.
Well, absolutely. And you look at what happened with like George Floyd, okay? If you really cared about the black community, okay, well, actually, if they really cared about...
That's a shame. They used that name out of a sham.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know how much that Floyd family got? $23 million. And you know how much of it actually went to getting a better community? You know how much of it went to rebuilding that burning gas station? None of it.
None of it, yeah.
And they all pocketed. Okay, why? Okay, can somebody explain to me why the hell do you need $960,000 for your father? What, does he need a new house or what? I mean, another thing is that you need to pay out your sister $370,000 and then your brother $590,000. What the hell? Do they all win a lottery or what? I mean, this is just you can't cheat on your taxes. And it's funny how like they keep on pushing this whole agenda, and it's, you know, so a lot of people actually don't know what.
See, it's okay that they cheat on their taxes, but when you mention the word Donald Trump, it's like mentioning the devil really incarnate, right? Oh, Donald Trump, he cheated on his taxes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Show me all the proof that he cheated on his taxes. The man, I mean, literally, come on.
Show me the proof that Joe Biden still owes $149,000 on his taxes just this year.
Show
me that proof.
Let's talk about stuff that, you know, even the Biden crime family, right? With the Hunter Biden story with his China.
Crack Hunter?
Yeah. The crackhead, Hunter Biden. Literally.
More, and you know, that explains a lot. No wonder why Joe Biden is giving crack pipes to everybody in San Francisco and doing a crack pipe, whatever it's called, rehab.
That must be a new charity that he's starting for the the homeless bums there in San Francisco Valley.
A shithole. That's what the best. Yeah. Well, okay. So in Madison, so here's an interesting thing. Okay.
Yeah.
In Madison, Wisconsin, you know, during that whole Black Lives Matter. So our mayor in Madison, Wisconsin, she implemented a 59-cent BLM tax, and you didn't have a say in it. So, for example, you purchased something and you were automatically charged 59 cents, and that 59 cents went to BLM organizations. And same thing with Starbucks and all these companies.
I've been noticing that in certain areas here in Georgia, man, where there'll be a tax 1 on your receipt, and then a tax 2, and then a tax 3. I'm like, what the hell is all this tax?
And no one really knows. And the only way I found out about it was because I looked at my receipt very closely, and I looked at that tax 1 and tax 2. It actually fell under tax 4, and it says BLM. And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me?
Let's talk about the story with the new tax filings that reveal BLM co-founder Patrice Cullors. Cullors is how you say her last name? Cullors?
Cullors or something.
Cullors, yeah.
Patrice
Cullors, yeah. Lavished charity spending. You know what that means, folks, right? When they lavish something, that means they used it like it was their own personal piggy bank. Right?
They got to make sure they got to feed the poor. They got to start a homeless shelter. And wait, no, that's right. They have to get an airport out of San Francisco and Los Angeles. And
congratulations, BLM donors. Look where your money went to, right?
Well, and you know, I make a joke about it. So Madison's got like a whole bunch of BLMs. You know what I say every time I go to that house, I knock on people's houses when I see that, and I knock on their houses, and I'm like, we have this one individual that goes to our church, and he has a BLM sign. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, hey, how's that By Large Mansions Foundation going? He's like, what do you mean? He's like, he's like, do you mean Black Lives Matter? I'm like, no, it's By Large Mansions. He's like, what do you mean by that? He's like, you do realize that they purchased 6 mansions all worth in millions and stuff?
Well,
And
here's another thing, Sauce, that these tax documents also revealed that BLM paid a company owned by Damian Turner, the father of Kohler's child, right? Her baby daddy, nearly $970,000 to help produce live events and provide other creative services.
yes, and that's why would you pay your dad 900? Well, what's the point of it? Like, oh, what? Oh, you? He's like, and well, and the whole thing is that he didn't even have to give any of those events because like it was handed by the government. It was handed by not Fauci. Oh yeah, you want to talk about events and stuff? Okay, so did that 970,000 go to those bricks and those mortars, like those bricks and those Molotovs at those rallies in Portland? Did those bricks go? Were they purchased by that? No, it was George Soros that provided all that, and it was like easily handed. I don't really think that the father actually did anything, and all he did was like, oh, I feel so suppressed. I actually to do something.
You think that's worse? It gets better. According to the co-founder's brother, Paul, he saw more than $840,000 of donated funds. I'll use that word loosely. Donated funds passed into his hands for providing security measures to the foundation. He was their little personal security guard, right? He shuffled them around like it was like nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here, right? Come on.
Give me a break. Well, and now they're having it makes me sick. Every time I go to DC and they have that Black Lives Matter plaza, it makes me sick going by it every single time. And actually, you know what the funny part is? Every time I go by there, I always make sure I have I always have something nasty in my mouth so I can spit on that Black Lives Matter thing.
Yeah. Oh, Kohler's just last year, we remember that when he resigned from the group. Yeah. I wonder why he resigned. We can see that the foundation, folks, is still worth tens of millions of dollars after spending more than $37 million on grants, real estate, consultants, and other expenses, according to the tax documents. Folks, you may think you can lie in your tax documents, but even though we're living under a radicalized Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam hasn't been conservative in this country for more than probably 20 or 30 years, if so, maybe 40 years, if I have my math correct. Even though we live under a radicalized Uncle Sam, you still can't lie on your taxes because guess what? They know everything you make. You might be able to see if you can tuck it under the rug like Hillary Clinton tried doing in 2016. Well, I can't say that, Sauce. I'll be shadow banned, right?
Yeah, or if you say that Joe Biden is actually the real 10% of the big guy, that's you can't say that either, Well, and you look at, and here's another interesting fact to look at as well. So you want to talk about Black Lives Matter and stuff. Why aren't they? Oh yeah, and you know what? Also, the funding went out to. So
ding dong. Oh, hold on, Sauce. Wait, who's there? Oh, it's Nina Jovankovich. She's gonna shadow ban me and fact check me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sauce.
She's got one.
We gotta make sure we get our information correct here on this show. Go ahead.
Okay, well, all we have to play is Mary Poppins, a spoonful of sugar, and then she'll go away. Give her an umbrella.
Fly away with the umbrella, right?
Yeah, boy, that was a scary video, wasn't it? Well, okay, so you also look at
the shit out of me when I was a child. But go ahead.
I had a nightmare just watching. I'm like, that's psychotic. She looked like she was high on crack or something. No, yeah. So it was interesting because part of that Black Lives Matter and stuff that actually went to the funding. They started this program called the Bill Project Fund. And it was fun. And guess who sat on the board of it before she became vice president? Petrie Harris. She sat on the board, and she still sits on the advisory board. So you know that Waukesha guy, because he was black, they gave him such a low bail that he is now when he almost ran over his girlfriend. They gave him such a low bail that the Bill Project Fund actually bailed him out of jail on $5,000 bail for almost doing a vehicular homicide. Okay, to go out the following day and kill over 6 people, and you don't visit. And the whole thing that sickens me is that you don't dare, like, if something happened like that, if it was a white person, like, the president would be all over, it'd be like in Waukesha and stuff. And all you have to say, well, the poor guy, it was a horrific crash. It was like, he didn't know he was fleeing from police and stuff. So he's a victim. That is psychotic. And you know what also sick is?
It is psychotic. Sos, I got to get another break in because we're getting up to the top of the hour here. But we're going to talk more about what we're talking about here on the show. I want to get into the 5 reacting to this BLM scenario because, folks, it's not going away.
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Fox is the 5 is reacting to it, and they are exposing their deep secrets. Guys, we'll be right back after these short words.
Blip is at the center of one of the most significant shifts in the recent history of advertising. We all see it taking place, but most of us don't recognize it for what it is: the brand building renaissance. Where small businesses have historically been excluded from broadcast advertising because of limited budgets, the onset of social and digital technology has made the power of brand building available to the masses. The fact that a small company can now establish broad brand awareness and authority with almost no technical barriers is what the brand building renaissance is all about. It is significant, and it's happening all around us. Social media kickstarted the brand building renaissance by enabling small businesses to reach broader audiences, establishing brand awareness and authority. And with the introduction of paid advertising opportunities, social media has provided small businesses with a mix of activation and brand building benefits, but it still doesn't do everything a business needs to succeed in the long term. Small businesses are beginning to recognize what the world's most successful brands have known for a long time, that each form of advertising has different strengths and weaknesses. For example, some mediums offer a one-to-one interaction, while others broadcast your message to many people at once. Some mediums are better at establishing brand authority and awareness, while others are better at activating a purchase decision. Long-term growth comes from utilizing the different forms of advertising. Smaller businesses typically have lower budgets, which restrict them from advertising on powerful broadcast advertising mediums. Billboards are second to none when it comes to building local brand awareness and authority, and it's the only kind of advertising you can't ad block, scroll past, or ignore. For the first time ever, Blip opens the world of billboard advertising to businesses of all sizes. Since there are no contracts or minimums, each business can allocate the appropriate percentage of their advertising budget and only advertise at the times and in the places that matter. Now, every business can begin optimizing their marketing mix for long-term success. This video is part 1 of a 3-part series. Watch the next 2 parts to learn how you can leverage different advertising mediums so that you can get the most out of your budget and Blip.
Black Lives Matter making some pathetic excuses after their shady finances got exposed. The radical group taking to Twitter and apologizing for the distress caused by inflammatory reports about their use of donations to buy a swanky $6 million California mansion. They claim the home was bought to provide a safe space for Black creativity, but had allegedly tried to hide the home's existence. Okay, I'm going to come to you first, Greg.
Yes.
What do I find most interesting about this is that the home was purchased for $3.1 million. Mm-hmm. And a few days later, Black Lives Matter bought it for $5.8 million in cash. Mm-hmm. That's an increase of $2.7 million.
So who is the broker?
No, forget the broker.
That's who collected the cash.
Who bought it for 3.1 and then flipped it for 5.8?
I think.
Yeah, Sos. Who bought that? How the hell did it increase by what? What'd she say? 2%, if I heard correctly. How the hell did that increase up to so much money? I mean, here's something here, Sos. What they had was they purchased it for a certain amount, right? And then it increased. It literally increased. How the hell did it increase? That's my question. How did it increase in value? We do know that cash does hold a significant amount of a value, right? We do understand that. But how did it pass? That's my question. right, Sos? I mean, that's my question. I don't know. I mean, we see, where folks, if you don't see the fraud in this, you're blind. You're literally blind if you don't see the fraud coming out of all this. It was valued at a certain amount. All right, we get that. Okay. You look at the amount that it was valued at, and then it went over to an extent of value. So you're telling me that it's valued more in a cash asset than an actual equity asset? I mean, if anybody watched that video with just Judge Janine basically narrating the situation, right? She was narrating it and bringing it into the audience. That you have a value of an estate, right, by Black Lives Matter that bought into this property, right? They bought into the property for, was it what'd they say it was? $6 million California mansion. And then it went away. Sos, how did it, please elaborate for the listeners here, Sos. How did the value of that home increase by that amount?
Well, it's called being purchasing. It's called somebody under the table buying it. That's all I could think of. And another thing is that so last time I checked, when you buy a house, it increases value. Am I right?
Well, if you put money into it, you
Yes.
put a nice, beautiful deck in the backyard. You put a swimming pool in there. You put a couple of nice tropical plants. I mean, guys, you get the memo, right?
Yeah. So last time I checked, is that if you purchase a house, it gains value. It doesn't matter what happens, and especially if you're in California, at least it's gaining value, like no matter what. But if it just doesn't sit, like it was interesting. Actually, it was actually interesting watching that 5 special. It's
But
like,
did you hear what Judge Janine said? She wants to know how it increased. How?
That's my question. How and where the fuck did they get the money? That's my other question.
Yeah.
And
God's with you, Sos. He understands. Go ahead.
and who's paying? And another thing is, with the house, okay, what they did, right? They put it as under a 501(c). So they're technically using it as a charity, so they're not making any house payment whatsoever. It's like, for instance, a church buys out a land, and they're like, "Well, we're going to use it for we're going to use it for charity, or we're going to use it for a public land. We're going to use it for our land, and so we're going to build a house to it." Well, when that 501(c) goes away, automatically that church gains value, and that house gains value over time. And if it gets built, and it goes on this, but the fact is that when they sell the house, for instance, if the people behind Black Lives Matter sell the house, they're going to get $6 million cold hard cash because they didn't pay a single dime on taxes, because it's considered a organization, or it's considered organization usage. So they are deferred on their taxes. That's why the house, and we see this in churches. So it's not just Black Lives Matter. We see this being exposed in these massive churches that are buying these planes, and that they're using it for church property, and we're using it for like.
You wonder, like, all of a sudden when, the church has been there for like the last 20 years, and then all of a sudden, like, the church is getting brand new monitors and, like screens and all this fancy technology type of crap, the strobe lights, sometimes, Sos, when, you see these churches, you feel like, are you in a church, or are you on, some type of
Joel
set?
Osteen? Yeah, Joel Osteen is a perfect example. If you're really in a church, okay, why do you need a 45,000? Why do you need an arena? Okay, why do you need a place where you see over 45,000 people? Okay, and now
that's the big pastor out of Texas, right?
Yes, and that is awesome. Yeah, and then Joel Osteen brings in $90 million a year. Okay, you know how much he pays out of it? He pays he pays no taxes personally because it's all deferred as a 5013C. So he's got private jet
there's
planes.
a lot of
houses.
churches that don't pay their taxes.
No, and see, that's the whole thing with Black Lives Matter, because that's why they're looking into it, because they're thinking, wow, this is a big organization. Why is this blooming all of a sudden? And how is it my next door neighbor just purchased this house, but now I try to sell this house, and now my house is like, whoa, it's gone way up. I wonder why. It's kind of a sick thing, and they're kind of cheating the system on you. Wonder why, and you kind of question.
They're using the whole God thing as an excuse just to get the money in, Sos. I hate to say it like that.
Yes,
but it's true.
And it's a very sick. And the thing is that if you're going to, and that whole, and it's not just only Black Lives Matter. Okay, Planned Parenthood does the same exact thing.
And I hope I'm not differentiating you from your actual true message of God, faith, and reason, even on your show. I mean, I hope we're not doing that to you here on the show, Sos. But I mean, it's true, right? It's true.
I expose, you know what? I expose, when I do on my podcast and stuff, I expose the big churches for what they really are, and this 5013C actually was not, this 5013C was intended to give back from the government saying, okay, you know what? You guys are going to be exempted because this was based on a Judeo-Christian Bible and a Judeo-Christian constitution. So we're going to help you guys back. But now, like everything else, you always have those bad apples that abuse it, and this is going to very abuse. And so now you have
the bad apples in the batch. I understand that part.
And so now you have this bigger problem that's happening in the churches, where the government now is saying, well, we got too many places that got 5013C, so now we have to start cutting, we have to start making some change. So what happens now is that now you get things that, for example, the government tells, hey, you got to teach this Black Lives Matter stuff in order to keep your funding, in order to keep a 501(c) status, in order to keep doing that, and you have to submit our sermons. So you see where this is going at, and this is why Black Lives Matter is under a 501(c), because they have a huge say in, well, this is a new stipulation of what we can do. This is how we can retain this 501(c), and this is how we change it.
The money can come through the curtain,
Yeah, well, it can come to me. I could use some.
You're just talking about how they are a nonprofit organization, right? They use that as an excuse to take the money through the curtain. We see that with lobbyists. We see that with special donors. Donald Trump labeled that very, very beautifully when he was campaigning for president back in 2016, right? When he was exposing the swamp, so to speak, to that lobbyist, right? That lobbyist will use that as an excuse to get the money through the curtain, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, but but you also have this major issue as well. Okay, not only do you have lobbying and stuff, this brings up another question. With all these environmental groups, Save the Polar Bear groups or all these other ones, how they're under a 501(c), and how much money how much laundering money they're doing?
I said this to the Rooster the other day that was on my show. I hate to correct somebody on my own show, but I think you're talking about the WWF, right? The Worldwide Wildlife Fund, right?
Well, one of them, or like these pet commercials,
Save the Dog. I understand what you're saying, but go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so like these Save the Dog stuff, how much of it actually goes to, and for example, the World Hunger thing. Okay, right. If we really truly had, why aren't we doing more for World Hunger? Because if you're doing like all these, you could feed, if you just pay us $19 a month, you can feed a kid in Uganda who, I don't know what he has, but last time I checked, Uganda has their own government, and they also have their kind of funding as well. So where's that going? And I think this is what BLM and what all these other organizations, these corrupt organizations, these demonic organizations, what they do is that they're thinking of how stupid America really is to say, okay, you know what? This is what we're going to say and give us money because we're going to say we're going to do good things while they're sitting after they do their spiel or their speech and stuff and they get money, they're looking at you and they're like, what a loser that guy is. He just gave me $100. That's going straight to my car payment. How sad is that? They really, and you know what the sad thing is? Here's why I say that America. Okay, so hopefully nobody's going to be offended. Actually, I could care less if anybody's offended on this podcast, because I'm a blunt person. Okay,
yeah, I'm not worried about somebody saying we're never going to listen to you again, Michael, because hey, listen, in this industry, Sos, you're going to gain some listeners and you're going to lose some listeners. The
Okay,
ones that stick by you, Sos, are the ones that truly follow your message.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. All right, America's gotta be the dumbest country I have ever lived at. Okay, here's why. Okay, because anyone that gives to Black Lives Matter, Planned Parenthood, or all these environmental groups or any of that, and says, "Oh yeah, they're doing such a great job," and they don't do the research, that's the dumbology that America has adopted. For instance, when I give money to organizations, for example, Samaritan's Purse or Compassion International, I do some homework. I research where they go. For instance, Samaritan's Purse, which was started by Billy Graham, and it's now owner by Franklin Graham, his son. They go out to disasters. They do a disaster relief fund. You see them. They were the first organizations to set up a field hospital in Manhattan under COVID. They also set up medical tents in Ukraine. So you actually see them do actual work. While people that give money to all these other things, they don't really see where the money actually goes. They don't actually do their homework. That's why this country's got to be the dumbest country that I've lived in. And that you see, oh man, why I didn't know that. Like I didn't know, like me subscribing to Netflix, I'm actually funding Planned Parenthood. I didn't know that. See, you got to do research, and this what actually upsets me. I'm sorry to say that, but that's why we're a dumb country.
Yeah, guys. For those who's just joining in here on the live feed, if you're listening to the one of the co-hosts that joins us every now and then, Soslan here, you could follow him on his podcast, guys, on Spotify. Remember, God loves you, and I'll meet you at the finish line. Tremendous
And Apple Podcasts,
content. Apple as well,
and Google.
God, you're on everything, Sos.
I know. Hey, I love it. And I got off a fake book. I'm not doing any podcasts on. According to some people, you've got a small following. According to fake book, well, what do you expect? I mean,
can you believe it, Sos? Can you believe it? When they say you have a following of a certain amount, do you actually believe that you do? It could be higher, but Facebook is just censoring it.
Well, it's like that guy, that Rhino that said, well, we didn't look at your following because you're not much of a follower and stuff. Well, oh man, you wonder why? Well, why were you asking? Okay, well, true Rhino. Why were you asking? Hey, can we go on your podcast, or can we go on his show and the shows that you've been on? Oh, I thought you just told me that I had a small following. I don't think so. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm trying to have fun. I'm making light of it. I'm sorry if I'm offending.
Yeah. People will actually believe you. They'll take that to the heart, and they'll be like, "Sauce just said something that broke my heart." Oh, it's okay. Let me get you a lollipop and a Frosty from Wendy's. I mean, come on.
Let me get a Kleenex that's paper grade. And let me get a paper grade Kleenex. That's
I got to give a big shout out here on the show. Just got a heart from Kimberly Cloud tuning into the show. Thank you very much, Kimberly.
Thank you, Kimberly Cloud. You're the best.
It was an honor talking to you today on your podcast, Kimberly. You're a huge conservative. And Sos, if I may.
Oh, go ahead.
Is from California, and that's a liberal state, right? And
that's a communist.
Yeah, it's a communist state, right? But it's a liberal state. And this is a woman that represents conservatism in a liberal communist state. How rare is that?
That is very rare. Well, if she's from San Diego, I could believe if she's from San Diego, that's somewhat of a conservative area.
Well,
somewhat.
if you Google her, Kimberly Cloud, right? She should represent the Democratic Party, but she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't. Yes, she happens to be a Black African woman, but she's a conservative woman in her right place. And I give her a praise for that. I really do. Kimberly Cloud, my heart's out to you.
Do you want to tell the big news to your subscribers?
Oh, yes. Before we do that here, I do want to say, guys, speaking of Kimberly Cloud, I did promise her that I will plug this in on the show sometime tonight. Kimberly Cloud, guys, if you are not aware, she is running for senator. So we have to give her a huge amount of congratulations, applause, and bravery, Sos. That takes bravery.
That does.
She just announced that to me before I went on the airways with her on her show earlier today, that she is running for senator. So I hope she gets the ticket. I really do.
That is exciting. That's awesome to hear.
Very
Hey,
exciting news.
if I were in California, she would have my vote, and I would love to campaign for her. But at least she wouldn't
Do you
kick
know
me
how
off.
much? Do you know how much that will turn that state around?
That would turn it around huge.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are probably not aware of her, guys. If you want, I'll give her a free plug-in. Kimberly, if you are listening, you could check her out, guys, at Kimberly Cloud Show. She is on YouTube. I'm not sure of Spotify, but I know you could find her on YouTube, and she's been on several other shows as well. So you could find her content on YouTube, The Kimberly Cloud Show. Okay. Sos, you got to check her out, man. She's had some very interesting guests even on her show. The woman works around the clock. I mean, I think she's had like 4 or 5 shows just in today. I mean, I was part of one of them, but I mean, she's had like 4 or 5 guests on today.
Isn't she part? Isn't she part of Fox Nation?
No, but she's a part of other media groups.
Okay.
She's part of Telemundo television.
Oh yes.
Yes. She's been on Telemundo, and she's been on several other small and medium-sized media platforms.
Okay.
But yeah, the Fox Nation here, guys. I'm not saying it's a promise, but I'm saying it could be a possibility that the Patriot Angle podcast is in the works of Fox Nation. So it's on the small phases of it. So I just wanted to make that announcement.
Who is excited about that? I am so excited.
I mean, if we can get on board and it can be a possibility of a reality, that would be huge. Not only for this show, but people that follow this show, people that are a part of the show, such as Sos and Jimmy the Rant. You know, I mean, if I can make this happen, and Fox Nation will allow my demeanor as a host on their show, because you know we do understand that Fox Nation is not part of the actual network that comes on TV. You know, it's on a app based scenario, so they do allow leeway on the show to an extent, but I'm hoping that they allow my demeanor. You know what I mean?
Hey, at least they have more subscription than CNN does.
CNN Plus, there's no such thing as CNN.
No, even without CNN Plus, they have more subscription. I bet with Fox, and actually they do. Fox Nation brings in more listeners daily than they do with CNN on a month.
I could have sworn I seen the CNN sign of Atlanta just the other day. They were taking the sign down.
Oh, you said
it's a joke, guys. No, the sign's still up. But I could have sworn I seen the sign being taken down. I think they took it down to like power wash the damn sign or something. It was down. The only thing that was shown there was just the pedestal that it was sitting on. So I'm like, where the hell is CNN sign at?
Closing up and moving to
we know what
California.
happened with CNN Plus. Are they closing up shop in Atlanta and they're moving to communist California
or New York
or socialist New York City?
Oh, and speaking of New York City, okay, I want to get your perspective on this, Michael. All right.
Yeah.
So we had so what do you think of the New York City mayor? You know, he's like, oh, I am tough on crime. I am all gun ho. You know, and like here's the thing that I don't understand. Okay, how is it that you, and this also relates with California. California and New York have one of the tightest gun control laws ever. Like they even have it tighter than Russia. But at the same time, you had multiple shootings. It was a bloodbath this past weekend. What is going on? Like, clearly, and it's not, and the whole thing is that they blame, the newest thing is that they blame white people. It's white supremacy. That's what's causing all these shootings. All right, and that, the New York City mayor is stating that, white people should be on terrorists or conservatives should be on terrorist watch list. Can you explain to me why? I mean, who the hell thinks that like that? You have all these tight gun control laws. I mean, clearly, what's next? You're going to control kitchen knives? Or we're all given plastic knives or what? I want your thoughts.
Well, it's a touching subject. It's a touching topic, Sos, I think it's another diversion. It's another distraction point to get the liberal machine, the liberal puppets there in America more manipulated, more distracted by what they should be focusing on. Do I condone violence? Absolutely. I don't support it one bit, whether it's a white crime, a black crime, a white on white crime, a black on black crime, a white on black, a black on white. I mean, you get the memo, right? I don't support that one bit. Now, when you have to separate a race card, and call people white supremacists, or what they use for blacks? I mean, they call them, I forgot what they call them. It's not very pretty, but I mean, Sos, I don't support it. I think it's heinous. Do we have historic highs in this country for violence? You're damn right. They're at a 40-year high. We're seeing more violence under this administration than we had in the last 4 years. It's true. You want to fact check me? Go on your little Google devices, your Amazon Alexas, whatever you look up, guys, in your basements there. Okay? Fact check me all you want. You can look at it. Look at the statistics under Trump administration versus Biden, and then flip-flop it and go back to Obama. You're going to see the same scenario that you've seen under Obama and Biden. Sos, it's almost identical.
Well, I would say this time is worse because you see more police officers retiring than you saw any time in prehistoric.
Yeah, why do you think they're retiring?
Yeah, because they get treated like garbage. And the sad thing is with the military, though, you see high suicide rates in the military. And as a person that founded the suicide prevention program in the United States Air Force, that was to prevent it. But now you have like astronomical suicides in the military. And not only that, but you have police officers that are working in broad daylight, and you have them getting shot in broad daylight. It's a lot. And a matter of fact, okay, and not only that, but like police officers don't want to. They're afraid of getting their hands tied behind their back. Because when I was in Madison today for my doctor's appointment, okay, we had this car rear end this car and then do a hit and a run in broad daylight. And you know what was behind that car when he did that stupid action? 2 police cars, and they just sat there and did nothing.
That's terrible.
See, and I feel bad.
It's sad too because you got police officers that are scared out of their wits,
and that's it.
If they try to do anything, they're afraid of that. Some idiot's going to bring them into court because they're so hard up on money now these days. I always say now that the victims are no longer the victims. The assailants are becoming the victims, and the victims, Sos, are becoming the assailants. Have you noticed that recently? That somebody will break into somebody's freaking house. We just seen a story come out a few years ago. I forgot how the story was played, but I'll give you a little bits and pieces of it. I think the listeners will know what I'm talking about. That there was a man, I forgot what state it was in, but there was a man that literally broke into this woman's house through her sun window. Those windows that draw in the sun. I think they call what do they call
sunroofs?
Sunroofs. There you go. He fell through the sunroof, cut up his leg in his thigh area, and then fell on a couple of kitchen knives on the kitchen island. And then he tells the judge that I want to sue the homeowner for slicing my leg up and cutting myself through the sunroof. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay,
how stupid are you?
As a judge, the judge has to be laughing after this.
Yeah,
the judge is probably trying not to laugh because he's a circuit judge, right? He's a circuit criminal judge, and the judge is probably thinking like, what the hell are you doing breaking in the woman's house in the first place?
Why don't we charge you with trespassing and damage of property, private property? Why don't we do that?
Yeah, but then there are certain judges that are actually woke judges that will feel sorry for the assailant, and they'll say, sir, for all your expenses and your hardship and your health bills and everything else, and for your just what you're going through, we would like to award you this amount of money to take care of your finances and anything that may cause in your personal life.
Yeah, that's sick, isn't it?
That's disgusting.
And while they go after the woman for taking all of her house knives away, like this is what happens. Oh, well, yeah.
The woman becomes the assailant, and the assailant becomes the victim.
Well, it comes at this point, though. I made this, I actually made this kind of a joke, all right, a couple of years ago under Obama's administration. I said, this whole becoming after police officers, all pretty much they're about to do is that they're pretty much all they're going to have to carry is candy. Good job. You robbed a place. You took somebody's life. Here's a bag of candy. Go on your day, good job.
They get a participation trophy. Yeah.
Yeah. You killed somebody. Hey, what, what you want to talk about? Corruption. You know what just got introduced today through Governor Evers? A killer's parole. So what that is, a killer's parole. Okay. This is psychotic, okay?
Sos, how did this guy get elected for Wisconsin?
He cheated. It was massive cheating. People from Illinois came up to vote for Evers in Madison, Wisconsin, and they flipped it by 250,000 votes. It was psychotic. So,
Sos, hold that thought. When the voting process was going through, were they at the cemetery?
No, they're actually at the border. So people from Illinois they were actually bussed in
I
from
think
Illinois.
That went over your head, Sos.
I get it.
Yeah. Were they using dead votes from like 1870 and people that's been using the same voting process for the last? They've been voting for the last 70 plus years after they've been dead.
I think so, and I think people from China they actually went through the ballots in China to get more votes.
Did they use that same scenario that they used under Joe Biden?
I think so. I don't know. Well, so what the killer's parole is, I looked actually into this. Okay, so for instance, if you have been convicted with a crime, you actually have to serve at least 2 years in prison, and then you get paroled, and you have an eligibility of getting paroled, no matter how bad of a killing you do. And this whole purpose was, now this is psychotic because the reason why, here's a reason, because Chandler Henderson, and if you know who Chandler Henderson is, he killed both of his parents, fed his parents to his dogs, and then
scumbag. I read that story. Scumbag, that's what it is. Yeah.
And then Chris Watts, who murdered his whole family in Colorado Springs, and then faked everything and said that they just ran off on him. Went to Waupun, Wisconsin. He reached out to the governor's office saying that he was innocent. And so what this killer parole is that he would then therefore write to the governors, and the governor would actually allow him to be on parole and allow him to be in public and just not be in that a certain amount of he'd be a free man and that those charges would be dropped. That is what you call psychotic. That's what you call your priorities in the wrong area. So you are enabling killers, child rapists that kill people out on the streets. I'm sorry, no way. So that's why I carry all those things in my car because this is a Wild West in Madison, Wisconsin, and in Wisconsin.
You're like your own cowboy in the Wild West of Madison, liberal Wisconsin.
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
All I need is a cowboy hat, and then I got cowboy boots, and I'm all good. That's so sad. And did you also know that Wisconsin's the first?
But they said that you can't do that, Sos, because you're from Russia, and Russians don't wear a cowboy hat. Right?
Vodka. I gotta carry a bottle of vodka.
Oh yeah, you'll fit right in.
Yeah.
Maybe Nancy Pelosi will hang out with you then.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe she'll reveal a statue of me, just like what they did in San Francisco, revealing a 25-foot statue of Joseph Stalin, saying that he was the greatest leader that Russia ever had. Anyway, he killed over 60 million of his own people. Wow, that's a fantastic leader, huh?
According to Nancy Pelosi, they're just statues.
Oh yeah. Well, if they're white statues, they're bad. But they're statues of dictators and black people. Oh yeah, let's put them on the Holy Grail. Let's worship them. Yeah. Well, and see, as we wrap up, I don't want to hold you back anymore, but
this has been a very heated show.
It's been fantastic.
The live view count on Rumble is hitting the roof, but God, what do we have? Like 45,000 live view count. That's crazy. But anyway. Guys, I want to close it out here. I want to thank Sos for coming on the show, Sos. Great content tonight,
Oh, and absolutely. And I think we were here last week and I'd love, and it's fantastic doing this weekly because I do, and I just want to tell you, I do a lot of research into these. Before we do these podcasts, I do a lot of research on top of doing my own podcasts.
Yeah.
So
I think we offended some people, but that's okay.
Well, maybe they were educated. That's when you're offended, that means you learned something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So if anyone wants to follow me, I'm on Truth Social. I'm at Sos Man 2024. And then I'm also on Spotify, look up Soslan, Soslan, and then my podcast will show up. And then, you're welcome to follow me on Facebook. I'm trying to get off of that. But you're also welcome to follow me on Instagram, Soslan Temanson 2024. And so then most people, and then Getter is Sos Man also 2024. So either way, you're welcome to give me a follow, and you're also welcome to listen to my podcast, which I upload daily and take breaks on Saturdays. We talk about God and getting closer relationship with him. And so you're welcome to join and listen in as you're either driving home or just settling down for the night or waking up in the morning. You want to hear my voice for about 15 minutes and just allow yourself to grow stronger in your faith. So you're welcome to listen to that and just listen in, and it brings encouragement to your day.
Good stuff, Sos. Really good stuff. Guys, you heard it from the man himself, Sos Man. Sos, I think that's your name now on the podcast.
Sos Man. Alrighty.
I have to give everybody their own deserved, respected nicknames. You got Jimmy the Rant. He's called the Rant for a reason. The man loves ranting about political viewpoints. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it official today on the Patriot Angle podcast, Unfiltered with Michael Gardner. You have Sos Man here on the show. Sos Man, right? I mean, producer Eric. Let's give it up. Alicia here, producer Eric, producer Alicia. Let's give it up. Sos Man here on the show. Sos Man, it's been great.
Yes, and we'll be back next week.
Yes, guys, before I close it out, I want to basically remind the listeners here that we have some really interesting shows. Also, too, we're going to be on the Tommy Nation Politics podcast this upcoming Tuesday night, Eastern. That's right, guys, 8:30 Eastern. So if you're on the Pacific Coast, guys, it's going to be 5:30 Pacific in your own respected time zones. So 5:30 Pacific, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, right? Do I have them correct? I might be wrong. Let's do it all over again. 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 6:30 Mountain, and 5:30 Pacific. There we go, guys. Tommy Nation Politics podcast this Tuesday evening at 8:30 Eastern. Not going to want to miss it, guys. He's about basically it's a society has been engineered for the rich elite while exploiting workers. Normal human being draining global resources and exposing fake narrative molds of corporate mainstream agendas. Guys, I just gave the description of his show. You're going to want to tune into that Tuesday night. Really, really heated show. If you missed the show earlier today with myself on the Kimberly Cloud Show, check it out on YouTube. We also post it for your convenience, which we had the permission from the Kimberly Cloud Show and producers to produce that on our show on the website. So if you head over to patriotanglepodcast.com, you will see that 22, just about 23-minute show that I've had with Kimberly Cloud earlier today. Really, really good stuff. We got into a lot of good content. With that being said, Sos Man, we'll see you next week, buddy.
And we will see you next week. And you guys have a blessed day. And remember, God loves you. And I'll meet you at the finish line.
Patriot Unfiltered. You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an unfiltered Patriot Productions. Please follow us on Facebook at the Patriot Angle Podcast and Instagram at Patriot_Angle_Unfiltered. Also, you can hear every episode on Amazon Music, Audible, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also check out our website, patriotanglepodcast.com, and also our unfiltered merchandise, patriotunfiltered.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.